Welcome, good morning, or good evening, or wherever you are. Welcome to another Random Code stream. In this stream, I'm going to be working on this issue that you see in front of you, which is called Provide Filtering Capabilities. I'll get some music going in just a second, but first I want to explain what this issue is, and then I'll start working on it. So I've been working on a couple of different Roslyn related packages. I have Transpire, which has a lot of analyzers and code fixes in it. There's a custom serialization engine or implementation for a framework called CSLA that I built, and I released a 1.0 version of that finally. And I think there's something else, but and then this one, AutoDeconstruct, which you can put a AutoDeconstruct attribute on a type, and it will basically create a deconstruct method for you based on the available public instance properties that have getters. So I released that, and I wanted to just test it on NuGet because I've also been changing how I make the packages and how I group the packages together. There's the template that originally was created almost, 10 years ago for doing anything with Roslyn related stuff. To be honest, they're crap. They're not really that good. And people in the community have figured out how you need to group things together, how you need to put all the stuff together. And I've been kind of borrowing ideas from people to do that. And so I've been making some changes, and I wanted to make sure things worked. So when I released AutoDeconstruct, I, on a whim, tried it on a CSLA-based business object, a simple customer. And when I tried to use it, I thought I'd get two properties. Well, no, you get a whole bunch of properties out of it. And these are all because these are public instance properties that have getters. That's not what I wanted. I just wanted age and name off of that object. So this isn't wrong. By the way, this isn't a bug. This is working exactly the way it should have worked. But it didn't, excuse me. I think I need some coffee. It didn't work the way I expected it to, in the sense of I didn't want all this, or I didn't expect all of it to be there, but it makes sense that it would. So I started thinking of, well, how could I handle this? And I came up with an idea, but these two actually are what I'm going to be doing. So the first thing is to add a constructor to the attribute that allows you to specify a filtering capability and then what the filter properties are. So this enum will probably have none, included, and excluded. Whoops, I don't need Copilot to come up. So if by default it'll be none, then you won't do any filtering. If you set it to included or excluded, then this array has to have at least one element in it. It has to have at least one value in the array. And then based on what you set the filter to, it'll either exclude that property or it will include that property. Or to be, I guess, a little bit more specific, if you're included, then only those properties will be included. If you're excluding, then those properties will not be included and everything else will come through. So I thought, okay, that would work. But then I thought, well, what happens if you want to be a little bit more flexible? Like, what happens if I would add a property to customer that I would want to be included? Well, now I've got included here. And, so now that's a little bit more maintenance than I have to do. So I thought, well, why don't we do the collection builder pattern? And what I mean by that is there's this article that Andrew Locke wrote that's actually, not to say what he writes isn't good. What he writes is usually good. But this one is a very good explanation about what the collector builder attribute is. And long story short, it's a way that you can opt into having collection expressions work with your type. And what you do is you put on a type, the collection builder attribute that says on this type, there's a static method that I can use to get a read-only span, and then you return an instance of your collection. So as long as you got those things set up, you're good. Of course, I'm not doing it like collection builder, but it's the idea that matters. So maybe we have another no overload that takes the type and then the name of the method. And the method has to be static, accessible, and returns a tuple, a filtering enum, and I said IEnumerable string here. I'm probably just going to mean like an array, because that's what is going to be taken here is an array. And so then you could do something like this and say, well, what I want to do is provide these properties, but maybe you want to do some reflection work, or you know that you're saying, get me all the properties that have these characteristics on it or something like that. And then that's up to you. And so then if you know you might be adding more properties later, you can provide a method to do that and then everything just works. Now, one thing as I'm looking at this, I'm starting to think, well, this is a builder for a specific thing. And this type is just more of a locator of where the builder method is. So it's not necessarily saying you have to have it on the type that you put AutoDeconstruct on. Though to be fair, the way AutoDeconstruct works is basically you put it on a type, and it's assuming that type is the one you want to deconstruct. So you could just leave this type parameter off and saying it's on this type. And then if you want generalization, like you could say, well, I want to do this for all, like in CSLA, all business objects. Then what you would just do in this create method on this type is you would then just route to another type that says, well, do it for this type, for customer. And then you can handle it that way. So actually, if I'm thinking about this, I'm going to edit this and say that this goes, the method has to be on the type itself. And then you can generalize to something on your own by the parameter. Let me get rid of all this. And then we'll say here, yeah, that should work. Okay. Oh, and then I we need to say string here. There. Okay. Now, if you're using the AutoDeconstruct with nothing, the no argument, then filtering would call this constructor with filtering being none and properties just being an empty array. So, yeah. And then if you use this, if the method that you're calling would return a tuple where filtering would be none or string wouldn't have anything in it, that would be an error. If you're calling this method, because if you take the no argument one and you call this one, then maybe we don't. Yeah, this is showing the syntax of when you would actually invoke it. If you decide to call it with none, that doesn't make a lot of sense. Then you shouldn't have anything in the given array. If you have included or excluded, it has to have a value in it. If you'd have a AutoDeconstruct where you're doing the builder and you returned none, then we would automatically assume that you're passing in an empty array. I guess how much error handling do I want to put into this? I guess I'll figure it out as I build it. So no pun intended. All right, off to doing work. So let's get some music going. Repeat on. Yeah, you did the right thing. Okay. So already have a branch made. And I think from this approach, I'm not going to start with a test. I'm going to start with a update to this type. Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah, there's a search for extension methods. Yeah. I want the analyzer, I want the generator. The search just takes it. And by default, this is always no. Because it can be a little costly to do it, to say search. And I might deprecate this or remove it in a future version because it's one of those things of, does it really matter to search for it? And rather, should this attribute just do it for this type? And then what you do is you say, well, if it would generate a conflicting deconstruct method, then just let the compiler tell you about that. Because it's going to have to do that anyway. So is this... Actually, the more I'm looking at this, the more I'm kind of like... Maybe the best thing to do is just to get rid of this. Yeah, because the more I'm talking to myself right now, the more I'm like, this is not the right thing to do. There's no point in having this here because if you put this in here and it would generate a conflict, I think... Does it tell you? I forget. Validate attribute data. Yeah, we start having these things. Existing extension deconstruct method already exists for the target type, which is kind of useless because again, the compiler would tell you that. And so if you use the attribute and the compiler kicks in and says there's already a conflict, then you would just take the attribute off because that's what you'd have to do here anyway. You'd have to take the attribute off. So we're trying to do the work of the compiler when it really shouldn't be doing that. So I think first get rid of and related implementation. Let the compiler tell the user if there is a conflict, which is what this switch is trying to do. There's no point in having the generator do that work. Okay, so this is, again, this is why I said part 1 in my stream, because I figured it always takes longer than I expect. So that means actually, if I come back here, edit. We don't want it to be 210. We're going to make it 3 because this is a breaking change. Okay. So one thing is going to topple everything, right? Yes. And now this is going to complain, but that's okay. Get rid of this. And then we don't do this anymore. Cool. I like that. All right, so unfortunately, take that off. This one, this target one allows you to put the assembly. That's right, because if you want to do it on a type that you don't own, you can't put this attribute on it. So this one allows you to say, for a given type, add a deconstruct method to it. So, which is a little tiny bit sketchy. I love it that I think in the .NET Framework guidelines that it says that you shouldn't put extension methods on things you don't own. I think that's what it says. You know, like you should avoid that. But that's what everybody uses extension methods for. So it's an odd one. I gotta look that up again because I'm like, is that really what it says? It's right over there. I'm literally looking at the spine of the book right now, but I'm gonna withhold on that. Okay. So now we gotta go into here because this references that and deal with the consequences, which is we don't need a search. And this is going to now break that. But that's okay. And then we can get rid of isType excluded visitor because we don't need that anymore. I like deleting code. I like the smell of deleting code in the morning. Yeah, that works. All right, then we don't get the search from this attribute. And then that all falls through. And the search is, you know, the generation of the code, that stays the same, which is fortunately nice about all this. Now I just have to look at tests and say, do I have a test? Yeah, so this one, generator. This one wouldn't be correct anymore. And there is no yeah, I already have a method that does that. So I can take that off. And this one would also, I believe, have a match, because if I take this off, yeah. Okay. Don't care about that. We don't have a scope anymore. Takes care of those tests. All right. I think this is good, though, that it shows that it's still going to create it even if it finds a match. Like in this case, we have, this is a test, this is a test, and it would match. So our code is still going to create this. It's going to be an error, so the test might fail because of that now. All right, let's see what we've broken. So let's build this. That builds. Okay. Let's look at our tests. And that should build. And it does. Okay. This is going to break in certain ways, I believe. Yeah. Because the analyzer doesn't know about this anymore. Which is good. Value attribute data. So we don't care about this anymore. We don't pass that in anymore. I believe we are still going to be looking for a... Yeah, we still look for an instance one because it is on that type. And then we say that that's an issue. But we can't look for extensions because that's where you start going beyond the search of that type. So... Okay, so we're going to take that. Oh, that was the wrong one. Why would that be else if and else? That should have been an else if. Doesn't matter anymore. Oh, we don't have to do that. Oh, that was so much fun. I remember writing that in a previous stream. That was such fun work. For some definition of the word fun. No, we don't need that anymore. Meep, meep. And now that works. Okay. What about in our tests? That all builds. Doesn't mean it works, but it builds. Let's see quickly if I have any tests here that... No. Okay. And the completions. Oh, that's just adding the attribute. Oh, wait. This is an attribute. This is something that creates... But I don't think... Okay, let's do the shutdown start up again thing. Let's see what happens when we run all of our tests now. Two failed. Okay, why did two fail? Ew, that would work. That would be a reason. What was the other one? Yeah. Still two failed. These no longer have a diagnostic. And I bet they're going to generate code now. Wait, what is the... Yeah, let's quickly... We don't have that one anymore. That also means... if we look at this and we go into docs, I believe yeah, that one is this is auto 2, this is auto 1. So we can get rid of auto 3. Because that is no longer a valid one. Okay, so we can get rid of that. Run all the tests. Oh yeah. And you don't do that anymore either. You build now. You do. What fails? I bet those two are still going to fail, and they're going to fail because it actually generates... Oh, well. Okay, only one of them fails. Well, that's cute. Oh, because we say 3 here. But that's weird. Wait, the... No, not that one. AutoDeconstruct generator extension method tests. So this one should generate code, right? And it does. This one generates code because it finds this one has a value for some reason, and all we would have is an ID. Okay. Oh. Okay. I thought it was generating more than what it was. By the way, if you're new to the channel and you haven't subscribed just yet, please do so. I would greatly appreciate it. Next goal is 5,000 subscribers, so I need anyone help, so thank you in advance. If you've subscribed, I appreciate you. All right. I have to say that every once in a while. I guess that's correct. Huh. I must have been... Wait, what happens if I say git commit? Yeah, I took those off. Those are the docs. That's the analysis. Ah. But wait a minute. Oh, this is okay. Okay. Got it. This is running the analyzers. This is not running. So in this case, it would not find an analyzer, even though there is a match. That's not the job of the analyzer anymore. So yeah, okay, that makes sense. All right. So let's go put into our change log. Oh wait, I did release. When did I release 2.0? That must have just been literally like a day or two ago. So 2025, 826. 2025, 08, 26. All right. So now we're going to say 3.0. We don't know when we're going to release that. Not yet. Released. CS, can you tell me what skills to learn future? That's such a broad question. You know, and I'm not going to, I don't know if this is a real person or just a bot generated this or what. I don't know. But asking a question like that in any language, anywhere, is really, really difficult to answer. There's just so much to provide as an answer to that, and yeah, that's it's too difficult to answer. I don't want to say it's too difficult to answer. It's just too broad. You know, learn Microsoft.com. Seriously, and then start looking at some of the basic stuff with C#. You know, they'll at least get you started. Removed the ability to search for a matching for an existing deconstruct extension method. And this is in 24. And then if we go in here, I'm also removing the ability to search existing deconstruct extension methods. That's the job of the compiler, not this source generator. Okay, so that took care of that. So we didn't even do anything that I wasn't trying to do. But, you know, that's part of software development. Removed the ability to do extension. Actually, before I do that, I think yeah, so we want to take this out. We will put in another one. Instance deconstruct methods. And that don't exist. And then we take out this whole section. Good. Okay, so now we've got that updated. We'll put in here marking types, filtering properties, though that's something we're going to have to add. Okay. Now we can do a git commit. All right. Now we can start doing what I was actually going to do, which is, let's go on to this attribute. And let's look at my design ideas here. And so we want to add here, do we want to call filtering? Yes. Public enum. Yeah, we'll get to that. None, include, exclude. Use to denote if named properties should be included or excluded. No filtering is done. only the specified properties are included. The specified properties are excluded. There you go. Good is anything. Discover chat. Yeah, I didn't. I see this thing come up not just on my stream but others, and it's a very generalized question, so that's why sometimes I see it. But I can't. I mean, there's just so much out there. It's. I don't have like a list of here's where you can go to start. I just don't. The best place I think to go is, like I said, is to go to, and not saying this is a perfect place to start. You could go here. Just go learnmicrosoft.com, search for C#, get to tutorials, choose your first lesson, start going in this stuff, and kind of go from there. I mean, that's probably the best way to start. That's not going to be all-inclusive. There's going to be a lot more to learn, but that at least gets you started on things. All right. Public, AutoDeconstruct, filtering, and then all right, so we're going to want public let's close that off for just a second. Public okay. Do I, here's the thing I'm going in my head is, do I put in validation like if filtering equals filtering none, and properties length is greater than 0, that would be an error, because you're saying don't filter anything, but then you're giving me properties. Why would you do such a thing? What I think like this should do is this filtering none and pass in an empty array. And then we could do, no, we can't, because this is .NET Standard 2.0. What languages do you know? Can you list? Very helpful. Mostly I know C#. I used to do Visual Basic a long time ago, but I haven't touched that, I think, in like 2 decades. Also did a fair amount of JavaScript, but haven't been heads down in that for a while, and did some TypeScript as well. So honestly, C# is pretty much a language that does everything I need. So no reason, you know, I don't want to say there's no reason to learn another one, because there's lots of good reasons to learn other languages, but those are just the ones. C# is pretty much my jam. That's the one that I know I've been doing for 25 years. I feel fairly comfortable with it, and it works where I need it to and does what I need it to. So there's a lot of other good things about it too. So anyway, there's also some things that kind of drive me nuts, but I think that's true of any programming language. There's always, little quirks or oddities or things that you may go, why does it do this? But that's just the way computer programming languages work. If we say, first of all, if properties is null, throw new argument, no exception, name of. We should always get a not null here. Even if you're going to call this, it should still set the properties to an empty array. Throw new argument exception. Properties should not be provided if no filtering occurs. I can't think of a name of filtering. Sure. Actually, it should be properties, because that's the thing that's in error. Okay, and then the reverse is, well, else if properties.length equals 0, then we also want to throw an exception saying properties must be provided if filtering occurs. And then we can say this dot filtering, this dot properties is equal to filtering properties. There. Gets the filter setting. Gets the filtered properties if any were specified. All right. So we got that going. Oh, and we need a creates. Let me just grab that. Specifying filtered properties. The filter setting. The filtered properties specified by name. Thrown if C. No, we gotta do paramref. Is and then here we say thrown if param filtering is none and values exist in paramref properties, or filtering is enabled and no values exist in paramref properties. Good enough. Okay. Yay, documentation. So we could start with that one because this one requires me to have this one working. And all this is going to do is say find the method, call it. Or first of all, make sure the method exists with the right characteristics. Static, accessible, and it has the tuple of the right value. And then it will just invoke it. And when it invokes it, it will just well, that's going to be interesting. The The reason I said it's interesting is because I want to do a private void initialize. Wait. Sure. And then we're going to take this. Oh, crap. It's not going to be able to do that. Private set. And then here, this dot initialize filtering. And the reason I do that is because when I get to that method, now it's going to bark. Shit, this just keeps going, doesn't it? I know what the problem is here. Sets. Yeah, we need sets required members. Hold on. To the polyfills. Okay, so we can come here now and say polyfills. Sets required member attribute. I think this is what's going to fix it. And then we can say we found it from here. Copied from. Okay, so now we should be able to say this. And it doesn't help. Crap. That only goes on, yeah, that only goes on constructors, right? Yeah. Shoot. What am I working on? I'll answer that in just a second. I remember properties cannot be less visible or have a set or less visible than containing type. Oh my god. How do I get around this? Yeah, I can't set that then there. There's a way to fix this. And I bet this is one that's going to have no documentation. Yep. What is this? CS8618. Yeah, it just goes right, but that's just wonderful. Why do that not work? Oh. Well, that would explain it. Okay, requirement. Okay, so let me answer your question before I go off and doing this. What am I working on? This is a source generator library called AutoDeconstruct. And basically it allows you to do something like this. So you can just put that attribute on a type, and it will automatically add a deconstruct method to it, so you can deconstruct it. And it goes on the heuristic of it will try to find all the public instance properties, and from that list, it will generate the deconstruct method from that. So you can see that I create a person here, and then I deconstruct it, even though there was no deconstruct method here. That's what the source generator does. So what I'm adding now is the ability to filter. So if you had like 5 properties here, but I only wanted these 2 to be included in the deconstruct, those are the only 2 that would come into play if you wanted that filtering capability. So that is what I'm working on. All right, more polyfill, required member attribute. Source. Required member attribute. And if you're wondering what I'm doing in this case, is I'm polyfilling. Some of these things that, like required properties, stuff like that, work in newer versions of C#. This is .NET Standard, long story short. With anything Roslyn related, you typically have to target .NET Standard 2.0, which kind of sucks. And that may be fixed in .NET 10 or 11 based on some work that they're doing in the runtime. But if you want newer features in older versions like .NET Standard 2.0, you can do it. You just have to add some of these attributes in. Now this required member attribute. So I'll just leave it internal. This isn't for every feature that exists in newer versions of C#, just ones that you can get away with, like sticking these attributes in. So you can't like make default interface members work in previous, like in .NET Framework or previous versions before .NET whatever was related to C# 8, which I think is 5. I'm not sure. We're in C# 13 right now. So it's a difference of 4. So .NET, there was no .NET 4. I'm forgetting, but somewhere back there, that's where it did. Interesting. Yeah, source generators are fun. They're kind of complicated, but they're fun. Compiler feature required attribute. Compiler feature. Oh God, please don't tell me that's. Well, no better time than the present than to try it. Compiler feature required. Compiler feature required attribute. Oh, whatever. My coding styles from my editor config are kicking in. Oh, Jesus. Unrelated, but I love the music in the background. Thank you. That's actually me. So the songs that you're hearing, one of them is something I wrote when I was in college. And then any of the songs that have any drums on it was written between me and a guy named Mike Hodnick. He goes by Kindom, and he does a whole bunch of like electronic computer generated music now, which is not necessarily my jam, but for a while we just wrote songs together, and so some of that is it has no, there's no lyrics to some of the, like the instrumentals that we wrote. So but yeah, that's what I have in the background just to keep something going if I'm concentrating or something and I'm not talking. Shoot, this is still. don't want it to be a knit. God. Hold on, let's just put is external a knit. Wait, I gotta put copied from, and then is external init. See, it's funny because a lot of, you can tell that other, even within .NET Frame or the .NET stuff, that they copy this all over the place themselves too, which is kind of funny. So, which I think is showing the ridiculousness of this stuff. And this is not an attribute. This is just is external init. And we'll just do this, this. Now that should go away. We could just make these getters, right? No, because then it can't set this. God. Is it on streaming or Bandcamp? Neither. It's SoundCloud, of all things. So the way to find this is... yeah, I know. So it was what we were using at the time. I think if you look up my name, Jason Bach, you'll find this dude, which is not me. But Sidetrack Project, those are the songs that me and Mike did. So we basically made 2 sets of music, and it's just all mushed together here. Not saying it's good. It's just like installation 1 is this stuff, and then the other stuff is too. I don't know, but that's there. Oh, I thought we had. Anyway, so that's that. For me. Oh, there's a lot of Jason Box. That's quite interesting. I did not expect that. See if I can find. No, that ain't it. Yeah, I honestly don't know where me is here. I don't really look this. I should put a link on my website just to that. But one of these is me. I don't know which one. Can I just look up? Because this is one of the song names. Huh. And it's not even finding it. I thought I put... What the hell? How do... It just shows you that things are repeated so much. I think I did. What's the other one? No, I can't find the ones that I did. I know they're out here somewhere. I just have to. But I'll put that on my to-do list to put them on. There I am. There I am. So it's Jason Arbach. Okay. So you can find this crappy recording. This is a band that was in high school, which is awful. Don't even listen. I just put this out here for just nostalgic purposes, but it's not a good recording. And then Refuge is some stuff I did with a friend of mine. Her name was Nancy Biney. And we just did some covers, and that's more relaxing stuff. Short Notice is the tape I made when I was in college. There should be... I'm getting so sidetracked, but that's okay. That's what we called the thing, sidetrack project. That is weird. Why did it not? It's saying I only put 11 tracks out there. That's a little disconcerting. Because it's missing one of my second. Yeah, this transference is but it's like thinking. Why does it not have any tracks out here? Huh. Okay, well then that's news to me. So yeah, that's and we don't have the second installation out here. There should be 2. I don't know why there isn't. It's not that I want to play this right now. But yeah, like I can get to this song. If I say sidetrack project, it doesn't show up. Oh, now it does. Now all these do. I don't know. I don't get this, but maybe yeah, putting them on Bandcamp or something like that would be a better idea, and just reload them up to something a little bit more current, for lack of a better term. But these are where some of them are. So anyway, I'm still struggling with trying to get this crap to work. I don't want it to be set from the outside. I just want it to be set from a constructor. And the reason I was starting to go down this whole road is because, yeah, and I'm going to have to stop real quick because I need to get on some stuff from work. So unfortunately, I think I'm going to have to end this pretty quick. And maybe pick this up tomorrow morning or maybe this weekend on Saturday, because I got to get to doing some stuff for work. But I'll figure this out one way or the other, and then I'll keep moving on this work. So with that, I'm going to stop the music and I'm going to stop the stream. So I want to thank everybody who is joining either live or you watch the VOD later. If you have not subscribed to the channel just yet, please do so. I'd greatly appreciate it. Trying to get to 5,000 subscribers, so any new subscription helps. If you've already subscribed to the channel, I appreciate you for doing that. I will be doing at least another stream on this or 2, depending on how long this takes, this weekend, either Saturday and or Sunday morning, and I will be continuing my gaming streaming tomorrow night and doing some more Halo 3 ODST. And with that, I am done with this stream. Thank you all for watching. Take care, and I hope to see you in the future.